Hello. So, a couple of things are happening and I kind of want to document this. A couple of months ago, I decided to leave somebody who was really bad for me, right? And I kind of learned that since then I've developed a little bit of a lactose intolerance to people who, in any way, shape, or form, mimic those behaviors. Now, I decided pretty recently that I was going to take on the system. I'm about to walk you through the verbal plan of how I'm doing exactly that. Stay tuned. Okay. Hi. So. Okay, Evie's gonna take a meanie for me to get used to this for real. Okay. Long story short, I got a new phone clip for my tripod and it hates my phone case. So where my face is, there's like the holder right there. I literally turned on the camera because I was so excited because my little guy, that's Mojo, Mr. Mojo Jojo. Yes, that's my little guy. And he's so little, as you can see, he made it onto the beanbag just now. Like, no ladder, no step, no nothing. And that was the first time he's ever done that. I'm proud of him just for being alive. This is attempt numero 3 of trying to record this. I'm going to teach you how to break this system in 10 easy steps. All right? I wrote them all on a bunch of Post-it notes because I watch a lot of Tarot Talk with Sophie and she be putting everything on these little pieces of paper. So I was like, let me organize it. Here we are. So, talking about breaking the system, what am I meaning by that, right? I'm talking, let's say you got a job right now, right? And you're noticing either you're being taken advantage of or the people around you are being taken advantage of in an unfair way, right? Okay, I paused it because my lips felt really dry and I'm gonna be talking, so I need these to be hydrated. So, I'm gonna go through these steps because it's only 10. And I organized each of these steps according to numerology, right? So the number 1 talking about like, oh my gosh. I'm sorry, I'm picking fur like out of the thing. Give me a minute. Okay, I pulled up my little numerology guide so that I can be a little bit more concise because I'm not gonna lie, I'm not scripting this. I don't have the time to. But step 1 is set boundaries, all right? So according to numerologist.com, which this is just a classic thing. So 1 begins as a single point of consciousness pressing toward the world. I'm actually going to link this in the description. But it says the lesson is learning to trust that point, to stand on it without needing others to validate it. Independence isn't the starting condition for ones, it's the hard-won destination. And I chose set boundaries to be the first step for a reason, right? Because one of the things with boundaries is that we try and set them, and then people try and force you to over-explain why those boundaries exist, right? And when they're forcing you to over-explain why those boundaries exist, they're not respecting your boundary. They're trying to see if there's a way they can get around that, right? And so when we're setting boundaries, especially in a situation where we feel like we're being taken advantage of or where we feel like other people are being taken advantage of, I grabbed the puppy. But so when we're setting boundaries, what we're doing is we're setting boundaries. We're creating a line between what other people want from us and what we're willing to give them, right? And it's important to have consistent boundaries. When you set boundaries, I don't want there to be anyone who is an exception to these boundaries, right? Because once you start making exceptions, that's when we start getting inconsistency of public character, right? And so we're trying to beat the system. We're going to have to develop consistency of public character. That's why setting boundaries is so important. Because the thing is, we're trying to figure out who's harming other people, right? We need to make sure that it's not us having flimsy boundaries that's giving them an excuse to get away with it, right? We need to make sure that we stand up for ourselves, because when we stand up for ourselves, then we can start standing up for others, right? Cool. Okay, step 2 is develop local connections, all right? So number 2 in numerology is like emotions, or it's feeling, and it's feeling things out, right? And that's the reason why when it comes to like romantic partnerships and stuff like that, everybody thinks twos, right? And it's really intuitively connected to your heart chakra, the number 2, right? So when I'm talking about developing local connections, I'm talking about the people in your immediate vicinity that are in this situation. I want you to start connecting with them. There's a reason. Once you start connecting with them, you start learning how people think. You've already set your boundaries and you're already acting them out. Now we're connecting with the people around us. And the reason why is because if you want to break the system, community is key. You want to break the system for just you, or do you want to break the system for everyone who comes after you? Do you want to be the exception, or do you want to make the rule? I prefer to make the rule. That's just me. You know what I mean? So when I'm saying developing local connections, it's like make sure that the people that are in the same situation as you are not struggling the same way you are, and are making sure that they know that they're supported, right? Because step 3 is connected to step 2. It's a byproduct of step 2, actually. And it's called make real friends. All right? Now, step 3 carries the number 3, which I am not going to lie, for me personally, I love the number 3. 333, that's my thing. You know what I mean? So number 3 is 33, 33, 33 in general, 3, got it. I'm life path 9. So 333 is my number. You know what I mean? But 3 carries creativity. It's the ability, and I'm paraphrasing what I'm reading on numerologists, but this is just basics. Step 3 is creativity. Don't do that. It is bringing to life what feels boring. So we've made local connections, right? So after you make a local connection, what's the immediate next step? You make a real friend, right? And I want you to use discernment. I don't want you to just make friends with everybody in your situation, because you don't know who is enabling these situations. You don't know who's being manipulated into enabling these situations. Not yet anyway. But like I said, 10 steps, right? We're getting there. But I want you to make real friends because it's good for you. It's really good for you to learn about other people and learn about other cultures, learn about other ways of life, learn about everything as much as you can that fulfills you, because it is intrinsic to humanity to connect with each other. You know what I mean? Like if there's no community, then there's no people. I mean, think about Wolf in the Wild, right? They live in packs, right? But then occasionally there's the Omega. It's the person who's ousted from the pack, right? And I want you to use this as symbolism for people too. I'm using this for a reason, okay? The Omega does not survive on its own. Omegas are more likely than any other wolf in the pack to die on its own because it lacks the numbers for support. An Omega on its own will be mauled or ganged up on by other animals. They'll get injured in their attempts to survive. They'll get sick and they'll starve all by themselves because there's nobody to support them. There's no one to prevent that downward spiral. In a pack, you have people watching out for you. Essentially, step number 3, and that's the reason why I tied it to creativity, because when you're in a situation like this where you feel like everyone's not not treating you properly, like I'm talking about genuine work mistreatment, by the way. I'm not talking about petty nonsense. I'm not talking about people just talking crap about other people. I'm talking about genuine, like you feel like you're getting bullied at work. You know what I mean? And when you feel like you're getting bullied at work, I mean, hey, making friends is the hardest thing in the world. When you feel like you don't belong, when people are literally ostracizing you, when you feel like you're being neglected, you know what I mean? Or when you feel like you're just not being valued in what you know that you bring to the table. Genuinely, it feels lonely. You know what I mean? And so I put it in there on purpose. Make real friends. I want you to get creative about it. You know, maybe the initial approach of how you typically make friends isn't going to work for this individual. But hey, we made real connections. We learned about the people around us. We took the time to care about the people around us. And now we have enough knowledge in our own database about the people around us that we know who we want as a friend, right? But I don't want you to do a ride or die thing, right? Ride or die is real friendships. I'm talking about workplace. You know what I mean? I'm talking about workplace. I'm talking about professional situations or maybe school even. You know what I mean? But like, make real friends, but don't sacrifice yourself for this person. You know what I mean? Like, don't sacrifice your own boundaries or your own energy or anything into anybody who's not willing to pour into you. I don't want you to do that. Every relationship must be 50-50. If you're pulling more than 50% of your weight, that relationship should not exist. Not in the way that it does. If you're pulling more than 50% of the weight, another person needs to start picking up, right? That's just how it is. But that's step 3, make real friends, all right? Step 4, all right? So I chose step 4 because 4 is the number of structure. I don't even need this damn website to tell me that. I already know this. 4 is for stability, right? I mean, think about it. When you feel like you're trapped in a tight spot, what do you say you're in? My head's in a box right now. My soul feels like it's stuck in a box. When they went and put Gojo away into the sealed prison realm, it was a box, right? So it's about structure. And the reason why I made step 4, this one, is because I need you to learn the structure. Learn your enemy, all right? I need you to learn your enemy. I need you to learn all of the company procedures, all of the system protocol. I want you to learn who is where in the power chain. I want you to learn exactly how the rules get bent that enable the people to take advantage of you. I want you to not just understand the system, but understand who put the system in place. What upholds that system, right? What mind games have the people in charge fostered that enabled the behavior that you're experiencing right now, right? So I want you to learn your enemy. I want you to learn who to get in contact with once you feel like you're being taken advantage of. And I want you to have the discernment, because at this point we learned our people, this point we made some real friends, this point we got our eyes out, right? We're learning the system, learn the enablers. That's another step later on, and I'll explain why I put that later on. But right now, I want you to focus on learning the system because you can't focus on the enablers while you're still learning the system. You need to exclude what other people tell you about how the system works and focus on the legitimate written contract of how this system is supposed to work. I'm talking employee manual. I'm talking whatever written guidance they're giving you, whatever signs are on the wall, study it, learn it. All right? Now, step 5 is record reasonable injustices as they occur, right? And I have to say it because 5 is about the mind. Okay. And sometimes, I'm sorry, I had to really figure out the right way to say it. But 5 is about the mind. And I said record reasonable injustices, because sometimes when somebody has it out for you, it feels like everything they do is a reasonable injustice. That bitch just rolled her eyes at me. You know what I mean? Like, everything feels like a reasonable injustice. But I don't want you to view those little minor petty things as the reasonable injustices. When I'm talking about reasonable injustices, I'm talking obvious evidence of discrimination, okay? I'm talking obvious harassment, bullying, maybe even stalker behavior if some of y'all are experiencing that, for which I genuinely apologize, because nobody should have to go through that, all right? But I'm also talking slander. Slander and defamation. That's like a legitimate thing that people think that they can just get away with. But the only reason they think they can get away with it is because it's supposedly hard to win in court. But the thing is in a company is different, because now you can sue somebody through your company. Be like, hey, this other employee is saying all of these things about me, knowing damn well it's not true. You deserve retribution for that. Why are they damaging your literal entire reputation? No, it's not cool. It's not cool. You don't know who's going to hear the things these people are saying. Sometimes people don't want to record reasonable injustices just because they think, well, everybody else sees it, so obviously. But you need to record it. Develop the paper trail, because you learned the system, right? You learned your enemy, right? So I need you to start recording the injustices as they occur. Whatever is against terms of service, whatever is against the employee handbook, whatever constitutes an HR visit, record it. Record it. Whether it's on paper, whether it's through camera or video, whether it's through an email that somebody runs you in circles and refuses to let you send it. I want you to record that you even made that email and the date that you made that email, because I promise you, some of you guys have a legitimate legal case against your employers and you just have no confidence on pursuing it. Step 6 is the one that I mentioned earlier. It's learning your enablers, right? And the reason why that's step 6 is because 6 is the number of responsibility, right? And the enablers have a responsibility to uphold their rules, and instead they're using it to put you down. Not cool. So not shibby, bro. Not cool. Not cool. All right? I want you to learn these enablers. I want you to learn how they enable, and I want you to learn exactly how to get around them. That's why we learned the enablers. We learned the enablers because we learned the chain of command, and now we know the chain of command. So now we know if that person above me is an enabler, I'm going to go above that person. Right? Boom. Step 7. So the number 7 is about truth, right? Where'd it go? There it goes. The number 7 is about truth. Truth is intrinsic, and that's the reason why I've made it this one. It's building a paper trail, right? Oh, hold up a second. Okay, so building a paper trail. What I mean by this is you've already recorded all of the reasonable injustices, you've learned the enablers, you've learned who has your back and who doesn't, and you've set your own boundaries, right? So now I want you to create a file. Like a file on your phone or your computer, or your iPad, I don't know, something. I want you to create a file like you're in school or something, and it's the big final exam, right? So just put all of that information together. I want you to organize it according to timeline, because then it'll be the easiest way to see the increase. Because typically, the longer something goes, the worse it gets. It doesn't just typically stay. It doesn't just flatline. No, it's like a goddamn incline. Just keeps getting worse. You know what I mean? So build that paper trail, get everything in order. I need you to start talking to your friends and also your community, because we made local connections. So I want you to start talking to those people, asking them to contribute to your paper trail. Anybody willing to speak, right? Anybody willing to speak, put the name on it, anyone willing to do that, I want y'all to work together to create that paper trail, right? This is a teamwork thing. All right, step 8. 8 is like, okay. The easiest way that I can think about 8 is it is the flow of life, like the rhythm of life. And that's the reason why it's associated with like abundance and stuff like that, is because it's the number of life. It's infinite, right? How life is infinite. And so it's rhythm, it's flow, right? So we're going to build rapport on step 8. And I want you to build rapport. I'm sure that did not focus literally at all, but that's okay because I'm saying this out loud. Okay? But we're building rapport on step 8. And the reason why we're building rapport on step 8 is because there's enablers, there's people who are taking advantage of you, there's people who are doing all these things. So we need to build rapport. I want you to build consistency of character because we already started that with step 1. I was about to say we already started that with start boundaries. Yeah, no. But we already did that with step 1. Okay, we already started that, but I want you to build rapport. We're building consistency with our employer. We're building consistency with the people who are held accountable legitimately in the situation that you're in that is causing these issues, right? And I'm not going to lie, it takes a lot of discernment, but we're already at step 8. So, but yeah, so build rapport. I don't know, girl, build rapport with the owners of the place. Build rapport with the area manager. Build rapport with the person who does inventory. Build rapport with your customers. Build rapport with your clientele. Build it with your coworkers. Build rapport with literally everybody. Let them understand that you're not here just to be shat on. You know what I mean? Like, let them know that you're here because you're human. You got to make ends meet. You're a human being. You're a real person, and you do the best you can every time you show up. That's all you can do, literally, right? Build rapport. You do it naturally just by behaving without fake intentions. You do it naturally when you behave with honesty. It's so easy to build rapport if you're honest, genuinely, unless you're honestly a bad person. So step 9. The number 9 is, the way that I understand it, is the number 9 is the accumulation of a database, right? Because at this point, we already know the system, we already know all the people, we already know exactly who to get around, and we've already built it up, right? So if number 9, because 10 is completion. Numerologically, the number 10 is completion. So 9 is the step right before that. It's the preparation stage before the completion, right? That's the prep stage. Most of the people who walk life path 9, they're curse breakers. They break family blood curses and ties. You know what I mean? Like they break whole interactive systems that have been set in place for decades just 'cause. 9. You know what I mean? Learn when to strike. Learn when to strike. When is the right time to step up? Because we've already collected all of this information. We've already understood who the enablers are. We've already understood who has your back and who doesn't. We've used our discernment to understand everything else up until this point. And so we must learn when to strike. When is it too far? Realistically, what I prefer is to act right before it gets to the too far point. Typically, before it gets to the too far point is when the behavior is getting so egregious that literally everybody in the vicinity agrees that it's nonsense. I was about to combine nonsense and bupkis. But everybody in the area agrees that it's nonsense. Everybody in the area who you talk to and you're honest about the situation and you're seeing it and they're seeing it, every one of y'all is going to be on the same page when it's time to strike. Now, some of you might be anxious, but when it comes to figuring out when to strike, you have to ignore the anxiety and you have to ignore the fear. Y'all just have to come up together and rise up against the bourgeois. Okay? Because we're proletariats and they will take advantage of us every chance they get. Because step 10 is follow through. This is when you actively go in, every single one of you. Maybe not even every single one of you. Maybe just the hardest hitters. Right? Maybe just the people with the most respect in the room. Maybe just the people with the best eyes. You know what I mean? But people where their voice matters, because everybody's voice matters. It just depends on whether you believe it does or not. But in the moment when you speak up, you have to believe that your voice matters. You can be one of those people whose voice matter. Because if I'm going to be honest with you, as long as there's air in your lungs, you do matter. You have intrinsic value as a human being, and these people are manipulating you into believing that you don't. I'm sorry. I'm here to tell you that you do. And because you do, I need you to follow through. It's going to be for the people who come after you. Because if you don't speak up, it's just going to keep getting perpetuated. And why would you want that? I don't see why anyone would want that. And quite frankly, these rules, these steps can apply to anything. I mean, you got some friends that are treating you like shit. That could apply. You just have to change the context. This literally applies everywhere. Stop letting people take advantage of you. Anybody who upholds a system of capitalism in this country, because this country runs off of capitalism, is going to sell you out. Jean-Francois Lyotard, he literally said information is a commodity to be sold. Okay? So literally, it does not matter what it is. It doesn't matter how abstract it is. They will sell it and they will sell you and they will force you to buy what they're selling. Right? Why are you going to force yourself to buy what they're selling when you could just follow 10 steps? I love you, Echo. Be safe.